Mario is the most iconic video game franchise ever. He helped save the gaming industry from the video game crash of 1980, and has proved to be very enjoyable since then. He's had more than 250 games made, so that means thousands of levels. That's amazing! But if you think that with thousands of levels that there are no bad ones, then you are sadly mistaken. There are no real rules here except for the one per game, and I'm not going to have levels on here because of one terrible mission in the levels. So here we go with my top 15 most hated Mario levels. Why do these Toad Brigade missions exist? The ones where you have to go around gathering up toads and bringing them to the gold doesn't sound too bad. At least to someone like me who hasn't experienced a lot of bad escort missions. Until you realize that if one of them takes damage, it's an instant kill for you. So, what's the damage here? Well, with all those flapjars that ground pound you at the most inopportune times, you can expect to die a lot. You can't kill them since there aren't any vegetables to throw at them, so you have to pretty much snake through them and hope that not a single pixel goes to them. You'll be so busy trying to avoid them that you won't notice the bullet bills coming up behind you, or the other toads falling into the lava. The only thing saving this level from being much higher is the fact that you can drop the toads off at their destination one at a time, instead of having to bring them back all at once. That way you won't have to worry about them as much. Even still, I don't like it. The first Mario Party wasn't perfect, but at least it was fun to play. At least when you weren't breaking your fingers with the rapid input minigames, and when you weren't playing on Peach's birthday cake. The cake itself does not look delicious. It looks like it was made in a game that was aimed at preschoolers. The music isn't charming either. It's just plain dumb. But what about the gameplay? Well, to be honest, the gameplay is only bad in one real part, and that's getting the star. Like in the rest of the levels in the game, whether you get the star or have to see Bowser kinda depends on luck, except this one is with an added twist. This time, in order to get the star, you have to pay an additional 10 coins for the flower petals, in addition to the 20 coins you already have to pay for the star. The game tells you that you win a prize when you're actually going to lose something when you see Bowser, but it tells you that you lost when you're actually going to get a star from Toad if you have enough coins. Why do I have a problem with this? Because it gets people's hopes up for something that's actually going to punish them. I get that it's a joke, but first off, it really isn't that funny. Second, yes, people who have been playing enough video games will get the joke and know what their real fate is. But for newcomers, it can be a huge letdown. What keeps it from being any higher is that this is the only real gameplay flaw. Nevertheless, it's still on here for its boring environment. Monster Rock Theater sounds like a good level on paper. No pun intended. A level with outdoor performances seems like something I'd be honored to go through. I wish that it was as good as it sounds. The level is bad for 3 reasons that don't ruin the level on their own, but when combined, will get no applause from me. First problem? The fact that there are areas where you'll be walking and then suddenly, enemies ambush you faster than a person spoiling a death scene in the movie Bambi. Sound tolerable? Well, don't forget there are 2 other annoyances. Second off, those blasted Hammer Brothers sections. When crossing these, Hammer Brothers will throw hammers out of the background, and if they hit you, not only do they force you to have to do it again, but an applause sound plays. I know why it's there, to give the feeling of it being an outdoor show, but it feels like the game is mocking me. And last but not least, there are 3 exits that are pretty much on the same path. I know that it's obvious you need to get the green star and ignore the other 2, but that's not the point. The point is that you need to beat it 3 times to get full credit. You'd think that getting the optional paint stars would unlock some cool new level, but one of them just leads to a level you've already been to, and the other one just leads to Rochambeau Temple, which I never found myself getting around to doing. So, case in point, I don't like this level. Cosmic levels in Mario 3D Land are annoying. Being chased by these demons can be a pain in the neck, because they mimic your every move, so even if you speed ahead of them, they do the same. So what happens when you take a Cosmic Mario level with little room to avoid the Cosmic Mario? You get a ticket to a pretty horrific experience. In Special Level 4-2, you're being chased by one while invisible platforms appear in front of you. Ordinarily this is a nice mechanic, but with this little brat on your tail, you'll be frustrated because you might end up having to make random jumps in order to get away from him without even properly activating the platforms and hoping they appear when you want them to appear. You have to take your time with each jump. Oh, but you can't take your time because of, well, you know. Now, I guess this level's okay once you master it, but I can't say the same for the entries you're gonna see later in the list. It's no secret that Super Mario Galaxy is one of the most epic games ever conceived. It does nearly everything right. Two of its best aspects are the entrancing music and well-designed levels. So, good thing we have Snowcap Galaxy to have none of those. Don't let that cool name deceive you, because aside from the pretty design, there is nothing enjoyable about the level itself. Star Bunny missions can prove to be pretty annoying at times. Catching these little rats will drive you nuts, and now you have to worry about that and the snow hindering your movement. It's not higher because the cursor can clear up some of the snow, but you'll almost never clear it up fast enough. Sure, you can get a fire flower if you manage to find all 3 switches, but it won't help you as fast as you'd expect it to. The worst part is the music. The Star Bunny chase theme sounds like these numbskulls are laughing at my misery. Compared to all the other songs in this game, I just can't stand this. It's proof that even some of the most fantastic games in the world can still have annoyances. If you want to go to a winter wonderland, go to the icy side of Freeze Flame Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a game that you'll either love or you'll hate. Some people, me included, love it for having beautiful levels, music, and gameplay just like the first. Others hate it because they feel it's a copy-paste sequel. I, on the other hand, disagree with the latter. I think the game does feel different from the first, but even though I like it, there are a few levels that are pretty much recycled for the sake of nostalgic throwbacks, whether it be from the first Galaxy or from other Mario games. Stone Cyclone Galaxy is the worst of this. A whole galaxy that's just one planet from the first game is not a good decision. Especially since now it's cheaper. You have to make so many risky leaps to get to the silver stars. One wrong jump and you have to start over. Getting the Comet Medal is even worse. You have to make a dangerous jump on a moving platform going back and forth where it's really easy to miss the platform. Especially since everything moves much faster now. Sure, you can slow time with switches, but there aren't enough of them. It would be so much better if they had actually given us something unique instead of filling in space with this watery grave. Who could forget the horrors of the tubular level in Super Mario World? I bet a lot of us wish we could. Out of all the levels in the awesome special world, tubular is quite possibly the most remembered, but not in a good way. This level's main gimmick is that you have to constantly use the power balloon to float through the level while avoiding all the enemies. Because one hit and you are knocked out of the sky faster than you can say, you know what? This is so bad I can't come up with a good word to say. Still, how can you expect this to be all sunshine and rainbows when you're a slow-moving Mario in an area that's loaded with charging chucks, throwing super fast baseballs, multiple volcano plants on screen that spit multiple fireballs at once, and a time limit to how long you can float, making you have to constantly float under blocks and take a risk of being hit again. While this level is relatively short, making it at least a better flying level than the next entry on the list, I know for a fact that many gamers, including me, had terrible memories of this level when they were kids. Am I the only one here who hated the wing cap? The controls turn way too hard and you can't fly higher. And this is what they choose to have on the cover of the game? This lame and uncontrollable power-up? If that didn't make me hate the wing cap, the red coins over the rainbow mission certainly will. Because at least tubular was over quickly if you're patient enough. Going around like mad, flying around everywhere looking for a way to get the red coins on the top, and if you accidentally slide off, you can't fly back up. You fall into the abyss. And what happens then? Something even worse than losing a life. You are sent out of the castle, and you have to go back in, climb the stairs to the star room, go through it, climb the staircase, go around to the other side of the wall, climb that staircase, go to the next room, try to remember which alcove led to it instead of Rainbow Ride, high jump to it, and try again. No thanks. I'd rather have the red star. It may not be used as much, but at least it's better than being stuck with this stupid cap. And to think, we're only scratching the surface of the second half of this video. The dual maps are unneeded. They only pad out the game, they're mostly dependent on luck since for the most time the partners you purchase are selected at random and sometimes aren't selected until after you choose if they should defend or attack, so you could get Womp as offensive even though they're only useful defensively. The worst part of it all is all those stupid Game Guy spaces, which are more common than they are on the regular boards. If you land on one, he steals all of your coins and makes you bet them on a luck-based game. So whether you have 1 coin or 100, that will barely matter. But I can at least tolerate most of the dual courses, with the exception of Mr. Mover, because at least the other ones have branching pathways giving them a little more skill than others, at least ones that were done right. This one's main branching pathway is the conveyor belt, which alternates, meaning you have no control over it. They will send you and your opponent in different directions, giving there very little opportunities to battle. Most of the time you will be just running around this board doing absolutely nothing, while being sent away from them. Combine that with the flaws I listed with the dual boards in general, and you can see why I hate this level. You shouldn't get the courage stamp from winning this board, you should get the patience stamp. I have nothing more to say, so let's move on to the next segment. But first... Hey Yoshi, there's a nice tasty Shy Guy over there! If you thought level 7-2 of Super Mario Bros. Was bad, check out level 7-4 from Super Mario Bros. 3. Two of the most infamous types of levels in side-scrollers are auto-scrolling and water levels. This level combines both. There isn't much room to move around, and enemies are everywhere, so you'll likely take damage, unless you've saved a frog suit, but those are very rare. But wait, it gets worse. Halfway through, the level will scroll up to a field of Gelectros. They take up so much of the screen, and you have to press the jump button just right. If you press the button too early, you take damage, and if you don't press it quick enough, you take damage. I think this game predicted Kaizo Mario. At least the rest of this level is smooth sailing from there. Oh, and guess what? This is part of an area where the path splits and you need to find the correct path. Well, this is the required one of the two. Level 7-5, the level I have a lot more fun with, leads to a dead end. That's just sad. Jokes End is a level where bad jokes end up. And how fitting, considering how this level is a bad joke. This could have been one of the coolest levels in the game, no pun intended. A palace made of ice would ordinarily appeal to me. We also have a nice theme to accompany us, at least it would have been nice if it weren't the same two notes repeating over and over again, throughout one of the longest areas in the game I might add. The splitting up mechanic sounds like it's also a good idea, right? Well, they managed to mess that up. This dungeon has a selection of some of the most annoying enemies in the whole game. Glurps only take 1 counterattack damage and can poison you. Clumps have way too much HP and even burning them will rob you of the experience points you get from them. Scaratroupies are too fast and not only heal enemies but also revive them. And the Ice Sniffets? Well, I guess these guys are okay. But how are we supposed to handle the other 3 enemies alone? And when you're not tearing your hair out trying to fight enemies that are already terrible, you're being forced to put up with Jojora's stupid remarks that aren't clever or funny in the least. And then let's talk about the boss. While not too bad on a gameplay standpoint, the way it's presented is literally one of the stupidest ideas for a boss ever. A creepy stalker who is as pleasing to the eyes as the little baby's ice cream kid attacks you by using poisonous kisses. That's not funny, it's stupid. And the fight ends with you killing someone's friend right in front of them. Why did they think this would be funny? It's not. It just makes me cringe harder than most things in the franchise. Though the level at least has some fun aspects to it, not to mention in the 3DS remake, which fixed the music and doesn't make you have to face as many enemies when you're alone, so that version is decent. I wish I could say the same for the top 4. Mario Party 9 is my favorite Mario Party game because I have more fun progressing through the levels than running around the board. There are more bosses, and the mini-stars feel like better rewards for minigames since getting coins wouldn't do you much good if you couldn't make it to the star. But this doesn't matter as much when you're trying to endure the hardships of the Bob-omb Factory. This map's main gimmick is luck, luck, luck. One of the biggest annoyances here is the Bob-omb signs, which will drop on your car no matter what, and after 10 spaces, they will blow you up and take out half of your mini-stars. And also these tiles which can move you forward or backward. Even the bosses fought here are luck-based. We have the Womp boss fight, where the characters need to pull levers to determine how many times the platform rotates, and whoever it lands on will have the Womp fall on them, causing them to lose points, while the others will be able to go all over the Womp until it's time to rotate the platform again. The main boss of this map is King Bob-omb. And while it isn't as luck-based because you at least have a bit of control of how much damage you do to it, if two players go to the same bomb to throw at him, they won't be able to attack for that turn, and if there's only two players on screen, King Bob-omb will be able to remove one himself. Nearly every time he removes one, it always feels like he's removing the one I wanted to use. This level is a huge stain on one of the best Mario titles on the Wii U. Yeah, I've talked about the horrors of Kamek's Revenge in the past, but I gotta do it again. Throughout this entire level, you're being ambushed by Kamek. You have to do everything while avoiding him knocking you out of the sky, which can easily kill you. And he's not even the only problem here. There's also the matter of those annoying fluttering fly guys. If you want to get 100% on the stage, you have to take them out quick and make sure the red coins don't fall into the abyss, because if you leave the screen and return, they don't come back. Then there's his team of baseball boys. They will throw eggs at you to knock you around, not letting you move, or sometimes even strike you out. After this is the skiing portion. I guess I can tolerate those. Wait, you mean Kamek's on your tail here too? Now I gotta worry about Kamek and getting all the collectibles without missing any. Oh, and that's not even the worst part. Oh no. That part is tame compared to the helicopter portion of this level. Now you have to fly around getting red coins and flowers, still having to worry about the baseball boys and Kamek. And if you run out of time, instant death for you. And there's not even a checkpoint right before it, so you have to go through the skiing portion again. Most of the annoyance comes from trying to get 100%, which you don't need to actually beat the level, but you don't get any credit for beating it unless you get all the stars, red coins, and flowers, so you might as well say that you haven't beaten it until you got everything. I can't believe I almost forgot this entry, but luckily I was able to remember it before it was too late. And I'm glad I remembered, because now I can put in the lily pad ride from Super Mario Sunshine. Remember how in my hated levels list when I said that the pachinko game was the worst level in the game? Well, when I really think about it, this is much, much worse. I mean, sure, this level is a little bit more skill-based, but at least with the pachinko game you didn't have to spend like 3 minutes waiting on boats with Yoshi to get on an island while keeping Yoshi's juice meter up so he doesn't somehow evaporate. I mean, really, whoever thought this would be a good idea should be ashamed of themselves. What makes this impossibly worse is the level it leads up to. You're floating down a river on a poisonous lily pad, with your only way of steering it by spraying water, something that you have a limit to how much you have. But even with it, there's no precise way to steer yourself, because you can either not go far enough, or go too far. You can't even spray forward to slow yourself down, because the lily pad wilts after a certain amount of time. And that's not the worst part. The worst part of it all is that if you run out of lives, guess what? You have to wait on Yoshi again for another 3 minutes in order to retry this level. That is one of the absolute worst ways to punish a player ever, and it does not belong in one of the best Mario games ever made. Well, I should look at it this way. At least the number 1 entry isn't from a game this great, otherwise it would be even more insulting. But what could possibly be worse? Super Paper Mario. This is a primary example of a game that was widely hated when it came out, but over the years, it got more praise, and became known to many people as the best in the series. In that case, the Paper Mario series, not the Mario series in general. But there are quite a few bad levels. The worst of them all is in level 2-3, Breaking the Bank. So to kickstart this terrible level, you see a block, and it has a vase on it, and the only way to get up is to break the vase. Pretty jerk move to do. Then you find out that it was the evil Mimi's favorite vase, and now you have to pay her back. Okay, I guess that's not a big deal. Oh, why do I keep up with the act? You know I'm going to be proven wrong. No, the vase turns out to be 1 million rubies. That's a ridiculous price. It doesn't look that expensive. You can only get rubies in this mansion. How do you get rubies? You have to do hard labor by hitting these blocks to generate electricity, and using the hamster wheel to generate electricity as well. Yep, you have to do that for a while. Now, to be fair, you don't have to get all the way up to 1 million. You'll be able to get a secret code to get into the ruby vault and get all the rubies you need to pay her back. But what do you have to do in order to get that combination? The fastest way to make it through here without cheating is to obtain Slim, go to the flea room, hit the block 100 times, talk to the warden and get your rubies, go to the room where you find Slim, give your 100 rubies to enter the hamster wheel area so you can get rubies faster, then run on it for 6 minutes to get 10,000 rubies, go to one of the jail cells, give the 10,000 rubies to obtain the code, then go up and face with a security system to claim your rubies you need to get. Yep, even with the fastest non-cheating way, most of that is just holding right for 6 minutes, which is made even worse since you can't even count how many rubies you have until you stop doing labor to check and then go back. I can't imagine how terrible it would have been if you actually did have to grind up to 1,000,000 of them. I don't care what you're trying to do. Unless someone's holding a gun to your head, you never hinder gameplay on purpose. People shouldn't have to do something like this unless they have an actual job. Is the music at least fun? No. The music is really annoying. Combine being completely boring with no sense of real difficulty, and annoying music, and you have what is literally the worst level in the whole franchise.